Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahavidyan Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. We are discussing the 5 quantum leaps, freedom, sadhana panchakam, and we are trying to interpret and understand in a way that is applicable for the person from today's world who may or may not have a proper background in the Vedic tradition. So we are trying to bridge the gap between the actual teaching and the practical reality by understanding and appreciating the spirit of the teaching and accordingly alter, adapt, and assimilate that spirit of the teaching into our everyday life. And adapt our everyday life for the spirit of the teaching. It is not making the teaching suit our way of life, but understanding the spirit of the teaching and altering and adapting our way of life in a way that it will reflect the spirit of the teaching and help us gain the Purushartha, Moksha Purushartha, help us to actualize the freedom that is being talked about, which is our true nature. In the first stanza, there is a sentence, Atmecha Vyavasiyatam. So that is the central driving force for the whole process. So the process begins, the journey begins with the desire to attain or know the self. So the seeker is an informed seeker, not a naive, completely shooting in the dark seeker. It's not a blind restlessness. It is a very clear, informed sense of urgency and focus that is supported by discipline, detachment, discrimination, etc. So only that person goes to the teacher. So we are not talking about naive, ignorant, uninformed, blind faith driven seeker. We are not talking about that. Okay, so we have to be very, very clear here. So whenever there is a mismatch between what is being said and the reality that we experience, we have to check what is missing on our side. What is lacking on my part? That's how a seeker approaches the teaching. Whenever there is a situation where I find what is expected of me in the teaching, by the teaching, what is expected of me, if I find it is too challenging or unintelligible, like I cannot understand, I cannot appreciate, it is totally, another story. I'm living a completely another story. or I feel like this is not for me and all that, then I have to see what is lacking on my part. So that's how we work our way. Because having arrived at goal clarity, so we are not talking about people who don't have goal clarity. So we forget about that. Okay. So now I am talking only about those who have goal clarity, but they don't have clarity regarding the means towards the goal. Sadhya, the goal is clear. And there is also some kind of understanding about the goal. But the sadhana, the means to the goal, regarding that, there is some kind of a confusion. That is exactly why one requires the teacher. One goes to the teacher. Sadvidvan upasarupyatam. Right? Take refuge in the true, in the master who abides in the truth and who has studied properly. Sadvidvan upasarupyatam, a traditional Shrotriya Brahmanishta, which can be translated for our purpose as a reasonably qualified teacher who is accessible, available, reachable, and who does not have an ambiguous background, whose background is very clear, at least with respect to the teaching. With respect to the teaching, his background must be clear. Personal life can be a little bit here and there because we don't know what path he has come from. But regarding the teaching and the lineage and everything, there must be no confusion. Right? And also, there must be certain kind of transparency within that person about their personal life. If you talk to them, if you want to check that personal life and other things, it must be kind of an open book. If the person is doing too much of jugglery to cover up the personal life, and if there is too much of relying on paraphernalia, see, to some extent, paraphernalia is required. So, if you are a traditional monk, then you have to have the ochre robes, Rudraksha mala, and all that. Certain paraphernalia is required. Some lifestyle is required. If you are a guru who is in charge of a big ashram with a lot of disciples, a certain level of pomp and a certain level of positioning, social positioning, and all that is required. It's all right. But we must have the common sense to understand whether it is too much or it is done in accordance with a certain protocol, a traditional protocol. It is just this guy's own fancy. We need to understand that. Yeah. So if it is this person's own fancy that does not have any basis on the tradition, then it is a questionable. And also, if there is too much of mystery, too much of mysticism going on around that individual, the person who is a teacher, when we go to that person to whom we consider as a teacher, when we go to that person, there has to be more emphasis on Vedanta and less emphasis on mysticism and magic. Why I am telling this? Because the next line in Sadhana Panchakam, what we are going to discuss today, drives the nail straight into the point, comes straight to the point. What is the point of going to the teacher? Sadvidvan upasrupyatam, take refuge in him and serve him, her, okay. In this case, is usually him because sannyasa is only for a male. That is why the masculine gender is being used. I will make it universal, but don't make it too universal. Like this LGBTQ friendly. Don't make it like that. But it can be a male or a female. Okay. Sadvidvan upasrupyatam pratidinam tatpaduka sevyatam. Every day worship his feet. the sense, be ready to serve the teacher and be ready to submit yourself, your entire personality, your individuality, your ego structure under the tutelage of that teacher. That is the whole idea, right? Why are we doing that? That is told in the next two lines. Brahmaikaksharam arthyata. Brahmaikaksharam means Om. Okay. Take initiation in Omkara. Ask the Guru to explain the Omkara and take initiation in that and meditate on the meaning of Omkara. In Patanjala Yoga Sutra, there is a sutra. When it comes to Ishvara Pranidhana, Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha and all that, in that, what should be done with the Om, which is the significator of Ishvara? Tad Japaha Tadartha Bhavanam. Repetition of Om while mentally contemplating and dwelling upon the meaning of Om. That Japas Tadartha Bhavanam. That is Ishvara Pranidhana. Okay. So that is what is being said here. Now, Om meditation, only Om, technically it is meant only for sannyasis. For males and sannyasis means male. There is no female sannyasi. Female sannyasi is an aberration of modern time. A female cannot be a sannyasi. A female can be a yati or she can be a freestyle renunciate, and she can have a renunciant lifestyle. She can be alone, a yogini and all that. But what we are talking about as the Vedic sannyasa that takes to Vedanta, that is described in the Vedantic scriptures, is very ritualistic sannyasa, is very specific only for males who have gone through a Vedic lifestyle with Upanayanam, etc. It is, this whole point is not relevant for anybody else. So we gave a interpretation for those who are outside this little bubble in the society. There is a small Vedic bubble, a very, very, very micro minority people who are qualified for this. When you look at the entire Hindu population and entire population of spiritual aspirants, among all of them, there is a very small minority who are qualified for what is being said here. So, and there are enough institutions and everything to support them to give the interpretation that is relevant for them. And let us not bother about that here. And we gave and because of that, we gave an interpretation for this that is relevant for everybody else. So, unless one is in that very small micro minority, this Brahmaikaksharam has to be, is not relevant directly. It has to be interpreted as, take a mantra of Ishvara which may contain pranava, Om. A mantra, for example, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is one mantra. Om Namo Narayanaya is a mantra. Like that, there are many mantras. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Kumaraya. Like that, there are mantras. Okay. So a lot of mantras are there. The Guru will choose the right mantra. These are all very popular ones. You can see everywhere. Now the mantra initiation is required and the explanation of how to meditate on the mantra, the meaning of the mantra, according to the qualification level of the disciple, the level of understanding of the disciple is given. So that goes on along with the study of the Vedanta. There is always some kind of a practice that helps us in developing one-pointedness. Samadhi. Okay. Samadhi, practice of samadhi, savikalpa samadhi, then all that, different levels of samadhi. You can look at the Yoga Sutras for that. That one-pointedness. Everything is centered on Ishvara in an attitude of complete surrender. And for that, this mantra helps. Okay. Take a initiation in a mantra that is connects you to Ishvara, helps you to surrender to Ishvara. Now this is relevant for everyone. Okay. And next line, Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Absorb, listen to, and absorb, take in, listen to, receive the teaching of the Vedanta Mahavakya from the Guru. Listen to the exposition of the meaning of the Mahavakya from the Guru. Let the Guru teach you the Mahavakya. Two things are given here. One is meditation on Ishvara through the mantra Om. Now, Brahmaika Aksharam also means Aksharam Brahma, the indestructible. Ask him, request him for the indestructible Brahman. Brahmaika Aksharam Artyatam. That is also indicated beneath. There are two meanings. Okay. So when you ask for that, he will give you the Mahavakya teaching and you receive and take in, listen to the Mahavakya teaching as he teaches you. Shruti Shiro Vakyam. Shruti Shiraha means the head of the Veda. Shruti. Vakyam, sentence. Sentence which is like the head of the Vedas means the topmost teaching of the entire, the entire body of Vedas, the topmost teaching, which is what the whole Vedic life, along with all the study of Veda and everything, culminates in Vedanta. The point of the entire Vedic literature is this Vedanta. This is the purpose. It takes you towards us. The whole point of Veda is Vedanta. So the topmost revelation is the Mahavakya, which is the equation between the individual and God, which is to be understood in a certain way, proper way, and all that, according to the methodology, according to the traditional methodology of unfolding the meaning. And there is a way of imbibing it that works with your individuality and dissolves the individuality as you imbibe it. Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakaranyata. There are this great Vedantic Mahavakya, the great sentence that reveals the true nature of the self as the supreme being. In the sense, what reveals the oneness between self and God, the individual and God. It sounds like that, it looks like that, but actually what it is talking about, one has to understand through the process of going through the Vedantic teaching, Mahavakya. So, Samakarnyatam talks about Shravana, listening. Okay. This Shruti Shiro Vakyam talks about the Mahavakya. How many Mahavakyas are there? There are so many Mahavakyas. Famous is 4. There is a famous Anam Brahma, consciousness is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi from Yajurveda. I am Brahman. Tattvamasi, thou art that, you are that from Samaveda. And Ayam Atma Brahma from Atharva Veda. These are very famous ones. And Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma and all that is there. Atmeva Idagum Sarvam is there. Right? So, there are indirect teachings that gives you a indirect knowledge of Brahman called Avantara Vakya. It talks about this is what is Brahman, that from which everything came, that in which everything resides, that into which everything goes back into the end, in the end, that is Brahman and all that. And then eventually it says you are that Brahman. That is Mahavakya. So when the equation between individual self and the universal reality is given, that is Mahavakya. When the description of the universal reality, the supreme being is given, when the supreme being is revealed as what the supreme being is, only about that, but without talking about the individual, only the Supreme Being is talked about. It's called Avantara Vakya. And when you are equated to the Supreme Being, when you are made to understand that you are not what you think you are actually that Supreme Being. So that teaching is Mahavakya, which solves the problem of samsara. Okay, so Shriti Shiro Vakyam Samakaranyata. Listen to that. We already discussed the main sadhana for Vedanta is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana, listening. Manana, contemplation. Nididhyasana is removing all the habitual errors and living the understanding in every moment, in every level of functioning. Now, Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakaranyata. Here, one more point needs to be understood. When you go to this Guru, who is a Sadvidwan, I am using these terms again and again so that we get familiar with this. Okay. So when we go to the Guru, who is the right person whom we have sought to learn the truth about the self, when we go to this Guru, we have to be very focused on why we are there, not to lose focus on the various other things. We have to stay focused on why we are there, which is the knowledge of the self. That's why I started the class with the reminder about the first stanza of the first shloka of this sadhana panchakam, Atmecha Vyavasiyatam. That is the main driving force. So that which teaches me the truth of the Atma is this Shutishiro Vakyam. I have also studied before that Atma is the indestructible. In Bhagavad Gita it says Najayate Mridyate Va Kadachit and all that. It's not born, it does not die, it is not it does not kill, it does not allow get killed and all that. I have read about in Bhagavad Gita and so many other places I come across this. And there are also some pointers to the indestructible nature of the Atma in all my everyday rituals. Here and there it comes. And also Tarati Shokam Atmavit, I have read in the Veda, the one who knows the Atma crosses the ocean of sorrow and all that. So I have developed the desire to know the Atma, Atmecha Vyavasiyatam. Right? That's why I have ended up with the Guru. So I am asking for that indestructible. Please teach me about the indestructible. Brahmaikaksharam Artyatham. After having served the Guru at the right moment when the Guru is ready and all that. So I am asking for the indestructible, the eternal, that which is never created alone can never be destroyed. That which has not begun in time will not be gone in time. Anything that has begun in time will be gone in time. So anything that is within the realm of time and causation is not my concern. Vairagya, when describing about Vairagya itself, we solved that. We discussed about it. So when we are going to the Guru, it is very important not to get lost in mysticism. This is what bridging the gap here is. What we need to understand here is we are there to ask and learn about the true self, Atma. To liberate myself from what I think I am, to realize what I actually am. And not ask anything else. This is one angle to it. Do not ask anything else. Don't waste your time in mysticism and all the other nonsense. Don't waste your time in spiritual entertainment. Go for the ultimate, which is the knowledge of the self. Atme cha vyavasiyatam. Remember that. That's why you are here. So, brahmaikaksharam artyatam. Also, There is another angle to it. Ask. Don't wait for the Guru to teach you. You have to ask the Guru. Only if you ask, he will teach you. This is a very, very important point to understand from the tradition. Everywhere in the tradition, any text you take, it talks about seek the Guru, ask the Guru. These 2 points are always said. If you don't ask, you will not be taught. Only by serving, you are talking about no, by serving, you are conveying your availability and the readiness to surrender. The Guru is able to see how good the vessel is. And only by asking, you are provoking the teaching. In one scripture, it says, the knowledge in the Guru is like a fire in the embers. No? When you light a campfire, there is this, when the fire is not completely died yet. It is there, the smoke and all the smoke has come down and everything. But the fire is not dead yet. The fire is there, but you don't see a blazing fire yet. So what do? You just go there, remove the ash a little bit, and then blow, gently blow. Then a spark, whatever is there inside the embers, like a coal, the coal embers, like that. It's called anal. You blow that, and then you add some more of twigs and everything. Then it catches fire. It becomes a conflagration, right? In the same way, the Guru is not rushing around to market his knowledge. He's very contented. Actually, according to the Guru's understanding, according to the understanding of a jnani, there is no ajnani. If somebody asks Ramana Maharishi about all the ajnana, so when people are all so lost and all, he said, where are ajnanis? There are only jnanis. And they asked him during Second World War, what about all the sorrow? He says, where is sorrow? There is only Ananda, right? So according to the Guru, you are fine. There is no problem with you. You are fine as you are. So only when you propose the question, only when you ask, it invokes the teaching. Okay, it's very important. Every text insists on you asking the question. Tadvidhi pranipadena, seek to know that by serving the Guru. Pariprashne pranipadena, by surrendering, service, and pariprashnena, by asking the well thought over question. Pariprashnena sevaya. Okay, Bhagavad Gita. So seek the right Guru, ask the right thing to the Guru, and definitely ask, and don't simply serve and keep quiet and be a donkey. Okay, ask for the teaching, invoke the teaching from the Guru at the right moment, and ask only for this teaching. Don't ask for all other kind of spiritual entertainment and all other mystic nonsense. Don't waste your time with other things. In this context, I'll tell a story. I was a very over enthusiastic little youngster with after reading this Yogananda kind of books. So I happened to meet I was staying with one Swamiji. That Swamiji has written in his book about him going into Kundalini Samadhi and all that. So I was very curious. So in that Yogananda book, I have read that when he was meditating, there was a lot of mosquitoes, and then he told about that, and then his guru saw that he is disturbed by mosquitoes, and with yogic power, he did something, and suddenly all the mosquitoes went away. He put the protection, and all the mosquitoes went away. I have even tried that once. It worked. One with the intention and prana to push the mosquitoes away. Hey, something I did once, and it worked a little bit. So I was very curious about it. So I wanted this Guruji, this Swamiji, who I have gone to serve and learn from. I had this fancy in the back of my mind. So after meditating, as I said, Swamiji, there's too many mosquitoes, and can you do something? Is there anything we can do? I asked, but in my back of the mind, I was having this idea. No, he will propose some kind of mystic solution to an ordinary problem. He said, yes, you can get a mosquito net. Finished. No, it's a complete uh, anticlimax. He said, get a mosquito net. I am also using a mosquito net, and he was using a mosquito net. Said, get a mosquito net or put some odomos and then meditate. That's what he said. So it's very good. I was very lucky that it was not some misleading mystic monk, who is taking me on a trip for unnecessary solutions and sidetracks for simple problems. Mystic sidetracks for simple problems is a persistent nuisance in the spiritual world. So usually a sadvidwan will not drag you around here and there, but sometimes if that person has a mystic past, has gone through a lot of upasana and other things, there may be an air of mysticism around that master might be there with somebody. There are some like that. Suppose if the master has been a great Srividya Upasaka and all that, and sometimes some miracles happen. That person could have been a great yogi who has attained high levels of samadhi. So usually this common faithful people, when they go to them, they are going to them only for solutions from their mystic side. They don't go to them for teaching. So here, that is why Sri Shankaracharya tells very clearly that ask the Guru for teaching about the indestructible. Don't get sidetracked with mysticism. That's what it means. Because this master has come through a very intense spiritual past, most likely, and it may be very tempting to get lost in the mystic possibilities that might be with that teacher. So don't worry about all that. All that is a distraction. Ask only for Brahman. And he's also telling you what the teacher will tell you. The teacher is not going to, touch your head. He may do all that if required, but that is not the point here. Sutishiro vakyam samakaranitam. Don't wait for him to raise your kundalini, give you Shakti Pat Diksha. That's one another nonsense going on. Shakti Pat, everybody is trying to kick your back and raise your kundalini. It's one big nonsense. So don't expect this kind of things. And then you read in some book that one master kicked the chest of this disciple and he went into a samadhi for 3 days or something like that. And he was going into a complete trance in nirvikalpa samadhi. And then he came out and he was asking the teacher about, and he said, what are you doing to me? I have I have a mom and all that. I have a home. I have to go back home. What are you doing to me? All this, so with various stories we hear, and we also see in this a movie, this what is that Doctor Strange movie I saw. They tried to they tried to get inspiration from this story, and then they created one scene. So this person goes to that female master, Kamartaj or whatever, and then this is a doctor, medical doctor. So she is, giving a punch on his chest, and immediately he gets released from the body, and then sees himself as other than the body, experiences astral projection and all that, and then she brings him back into the body, gives him a jolt, and then he has his faith and all that. So all these stories are very nice, but if you are a person who has gone through proper study, all this spiritual entertainment is not required. You don't require all, because you already have Shraddha. All this magic stuff is required for inspiring Shraddha. If you are coming from a barbarian population, like from the Middle East, the old times, Middle East, mostly they were barbarians. So because of that, all their religions that came out there, the religions that rise up among the barbarian population, They're usually focused on magic, some extraordinary guy coming, healing the sick, the blind seeing, the lame walking. These kind of things are always emphasized too much, right? And always miracles are emphasized too much. So this kind of miracle mongering is only for barbarians, common people, and fools. A person who has gone through, has a learned past, who has gone through the process of learning, and who has come to the Vedanta. These kind of people hardly ever end up with Vedanta. A person who has ended up with Vedanta has gone through a learning process. So he's not an idiot. He does not require miracles. He has studied enough about miracles. He himself can do miracles probably. If you do enough mantra japa, get mantra siddhi, you can do miracles. In Upanishads, we hear about, Narada, Sage Narada is called as Triloka Sanchari. He used to travel between different dimensions, just like we are going from one country to another. He used to travel between different dimensions. He had all the 8 great siddhis. He had studied all the arts and sciences and everything, but still he was not satisfied. So he goes to Sanat Kumara to ask for the teaching. Please teach me about the infinite, and then what is the ultimate, and then the teaching commences. We have that. It is in the Upanishad. Sri Narada goes and learns from. Similarly, you have Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna has obtained celestial weapons, which are all powers, mystic powers, Pashupatastra. He did tapasya in a forest for yoga. He's a master of yoga, master of concentration. He has all these mystic weapons, which one weapon can wipe out an entire country, which are activated by mantra. These are all magic. Okay, so in a normal Marvel movie, in Western parlance, Arjuna was not just a warrior. Arjuna was a sorcerer. Okay, so this is what we are talking about here. We are not talking about becoming a donkey to some one kind of extraordinary guy who cares a little bit of, who can convert water into wine, or another guy who can fly to the heaven in a donkey. We are not talking about all that. These are all silly stuff. We don't bother about this. We have one master like this in probably every district of India. So we don't care for this. So Brahmaika Akshara Martyatam Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakaranitam. The teacher, don't expect the teacher to give you some mystic enlightenment, instant enlightenment, 3 days enlightenment. The guru touches your head and you go into cosmic consciousness. Don't expect all this kind of nonsense. He is going to teach you Vedanta. Listen to that carefully and try to understand what the Mahavakya of Vedanta is all about. That is the next sentence. Vakya, having listened to that, Shritishiro Vakyam Samakaraniyatam, having listened to the Mahavakya or the great teaching of Vedanta, what should you do? Having listened to that, having done Shravana, having listened, what should you do? You should do Manana. Contemplate on the meaning of that sentence. Vakyarthascha vicharyata. Here, Vakyartha means meaning of the sentence. There are two kinds of meanings: immediate meaning and implied meaning. Okay, it says, you are God, Tattvamasi, you are that. You means you, the individual, what you think you are now. Apparent, the immediate meaning, the verbal meaning. The literal verbal meaning is you are that. How can I be that? I am small, 5 feet 6 inches, 5 feet 10 inches, 6 feet, 5 feet, 4 feet, whatever. No, so many kilograms. So because you are always defining yourself based on the body, your identity, or even if you are an engineer or something, my knowledge is limited, my wealth is limited, my lifespan is limited, my powers are limited. How can I be God, who is all powerful, all knowledgeable, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient? How can I be God? This is the question. So you are God, Tattvamasi. So that here means God, Ishvara. Tvam means you, the individual. Asi is the equation. R. So it is telling you and God are one. How you and God are one is what is the meaning. Now, what needs to be understood? How do we understand that? From the verbal meaning, it is you have to go to the implied meaning. Lakshyartha. What Lakshya means the target. What is the targeted understanding from this? This sentence has to be unfolded. This great utterance has to be unfolded through the method of teaching in a certain way, and the disciple should be helped to understand. The understanding of the Lakshyartha, the intended meaning, should be facilitated in the student. So when you are listening to that, Vakyarthascha vicharyatam, inquire into the intended meaning of that, what it is actually trying to convey. Inquire into that. How do you inquire into that? Are you going to use scientific reasoning? Like now, how it is coming in Hindu WhatsApp University. No, nowadays there is this unhealthy habit of trying to give scientific explanation for spiritual things. So I follow. We they do this rangoli in front of the house because it is fractal patterns. It trains your, it gives you neurological training to focus. And then early morning you have to do, clear the place with cow dung. The ozone is high, so you should go and do in the early morning because there is more ozone. This is one scientific explanation. There is this, like this, there is scientific explanation for all kinds of things. So if you are giving this explanation, I can give you a much simpler and easier process to achieve that. Instead of going in earlier, getting up early in the morning and going outside and putting rangoli in the mosquito bite, it can be done in so many other ways. I can give you a iPad and you can do column on the iPad. It will do the same whatever, neurobiological, neuromuscular training. Right? All that is possible. So, the scientific explanation for practices and recommendations by the Shastra is a very unhealthy thing. It destroys our Pramana Buddhi. So, having come from this kind of a background, we might want to, we might be tempted to interpret as everything is energy. This is another nonsense. Vedanta, is on scientific approach to Vedanta. So we might be tempted to do that because of our background. Our background is a confused background. So when we are doing analysis of the meaning of Mahavakya, we will also use confused methodology, confusing methodology. No, we will do an unhealthy cocktail of scientific reasoning, overextended scientific reasoning, a little bit of quantum physics, a little bit of cosmology, and all that put together and make a deadly concoction, which will make you confused. Sometimes it can confuse even the teacher. The confusion is so strong. Yeah. So especially if you are from one of these hell houses like Harvard or Stanford or whatever, you have a huge ego also, bloated ego. You have all these uh, scientific minded people ending up in ashrams. They create more confusion than a simple farmer who comes to the guru and asks for teaching. He will understand in a much clearer and better way than all these scientific big heads who come from Ivy League colleges. That is because they do confuse logic. They don't have shraddha and take the method of reasoning given by the shastra, given by the scripture and the tradition, gives a method of reasoning. We have to employ only that method of reasoning. And we have to, when there is a doubt, when there is something that does not match, I'm not able to wrap my head around, and I have a conflicting opinion. I have a paksha, I have my opinion. And also there is a opinion given by the Shruti. So when there is a conflict and when there is a gap, I have to adapt, I have to adopt, sorry, I have to adopt and take the side of the Shruti. I have to give the benefit of doubt to the Shastra. I have to give the benefit of doubt to the Vedanta, to the sentences of the Vedanta, and consider that to be true and try to work my understanding towards that. So, what Vakyarthascha Vicharyatam, Shrutishiro Pakshassamashriyata. Shrutishiro Pakshaha. Pakshaha means your side and my side. Okay. When we are, let us say we are having an argument, you say something and I say something. We have your side and we have my side. My side of the explanation and your side of the explanation, or your side of the argument, my side of the argument. So when there is a mismatch, suppose if I am the teacher and you are the student, and I am trying to explain to you something, obviously this explanation is required because you don't understand and I understand. You are here to imbibe the understanding that I have. You are here to imbibe the understanding that I have, which I am trying to transmit through the teaching process. So you have to give the benefit of doubt to me. You have to take my side. You cannot take some other side that is a pet side. You might have a pet opinion. You might have carried a pet opinion from your past before coming here. Let us say you are coming from a monotheist religion where it says God is the greatest. You are you are a servant of God. That's about it. Okay. So your maximum possibility is to go to heaven and serve God. You come from a dualistic and some kind of a school like this, let us say. So when I'm saying you are God and I'm trying to explain, it is going to challenge your pet belief. It is challenging your pet belief. And you might have invested a lot in that pet belief from before. It might have helped you overcome so many difficulties in life. So it's very dear to you emotionally. It might be. But still, you will have to give up that and take up the side of what the scripture is trying to reveal to you. It's very important. Shruti Shiro Paksha Samashriyatam. Samyak Ashriyatam. Properly, entirely, completely take to the side of the Shruti. And desist from arguing for argument's sake, and desist from egoistic arguments. Dustarkat suviramyatam. Dustarka means simply arguing to prove a point. Either you are emotionally motivated, egoistically motivated, or you are in some cantankerous mood. Don't indulge in vain argument for argument's sake, or just simply to win an argument. Dustarka means one perverse logic. Perverse logic is a logic driven by an agenda. It can also be a logic that is not applying the proper method and confusing different approaches. Pramana confusion, like I told you, bringing quantum physics. According to quantum physics, everything is an idea. So what quantum physics says, that's what Vedanta is saying. Our Ivy League physicist will come and give a lecture. This is absolute nonsense. Quantum physics does not talk about consciousness, for example. It does not talk about you. Quantum physics is talking about natural phenomena. It has arrived at some level of insight, yes. But where is the equation? Where is the equation? Tattvamasi is something else. It is not about the world out there. In fact, we are telling there is no world out there. Then he will say, yes, quantum physics also says there is no world out there. Yes. But does it say you are Brahman? It doesn't say that. Right? That's where the hard problem of consciousness. When we read about it, you please do a web search about the hard problem of consciousness. There is no solution. With all the quantum physics, there is no solution. That is exactly why we need Shruti or Shastra because it talks about a dimension that is not accessible for perception and science, a dimension that is not available for science. You can never come to this conclusion or this understanding through the scientific method, because this knowledge is outside the purview of scientific method itself, because it is not an objective phenomena, right? It is the truth of the ultimate subject in an experience. It cannot be studied objectively. It cannot be, the self cannot be objectified. If it cannot be objectified, it cannot be a subject of science. So scientific logic, quantum mechanics, whatever great unified theory, whatever theory you might bring, it cannot be the approach to unravel the meaning of Vedanta. It is not applicable in Vedanta. You have to drop science and take Vedanta freshly, without any mixing, without doing any unhealthy cocktail. Fresh, pure Vedanta with the method of interpretation and the logic that is taught to us by the tradition. Shrutishiro pakshasamaashriyatam dustarkat suviramyatam. Give away perverse logic. You know, desist from perverse logic. Do not indulge in perverse logic. Get out of the tendency to indulge in perverse logic. But that doesn't mean simply shake your head like a donkey to whatever he says, and don't take it simply as a matter of faith. It is not a matter of faith, it is a matter of understanding. Because it is wisdom, it is knowledge, it is a matter of understanding. So what you have to do? Desist from perverse logic. Instead, apply yourself diligently to the logic that is practiced by the tradition, that is recommended by the Shruti. Dustarkat suviramyatam Shruti matah tarkah anusandhiyatam. That is the neckline. Shruti matah tarko anusandhiyatam. So, vakyartascha vicharyatam. Shrutishiro pakshas samashriyatam. Dustarkat suviramyatam. Shruti matah tarko anusandhiyatam. This is the most important point that Sri Adi Shankaracharya has given to us. Shruti Shiro Pakshassamashriyatam Dustarkat Suviramyatam, but Shruti Matah Tarka Anusandiyatam. Shruti Matah Tarka means the method of argument that helps you to see what the vision of Vedanta is, what Vedanta is trying to reveal, trying to tell you. Use the logic that helps you to see that. So we are not proving Brahman by logic. We are using logic to remove the ignorance about myself that makes me imagine about myself as this or that, as something other than Brahman. Because of ignorance, I think what I am. I am thinking about myself in the way that I am thinking about myself. I am not what I think I am. What I actually am, that is what Shruti is trying to reveal. And there is a logic, application of logical method that helps me to understand that in the right way, which is about myself, and that frees me. That right method of understanding, Shruti Mata Tarkaha, the logic according to the Shruti, the logic that is in harmony with the vision of the Shruti, the logic that is in harmony with the vision of Vedanta, helps me to dismantle my wrongly constructed false sense of individuality. That is the point. So, apply yourself to that logic that helps you to realize the vision of Vedanta. Shruti mata tarko anusandiyatam. Anusandiyatam. Anu means in keeping with the method described and in keeping with the method that is practiced and taught in the tradition. There is a method of understanding the vision of Vedanta with all the prakriyas and everything. There is a traditional method of going through the process. In keeping with that traditional method, anusandhiyatam. Anu means in keeping with something, right? Anushasanam, in keeping with something. Wherever this anu comes, always you have to remember what is it trying to be in line with, according to, right? In keeping with. So anusandhiyatam, shrutimata tarko anusandhiyatam, right? So this until now, Shravana and Manana. This whole process of Vakyarthascha vicharyatam, inquire into the meaning of the intended meaning of the Vedic the Vedantic great utterance, Mahavakya. Shrutishiro pakshas samashriyatam, take to the side that is given by the Shruti, give the benefit of doubt to the statements of the Vedanta. Dustarkat suviramyata, give up perverse logic, but do follow the logic that is in keeping with the tradition that helps you to realize the vision of Vedanta about yourself. This entire process is manana or contemplation, Vedantic contemplation. Vedantic contemplation is not repeating that you are Brahman. It is not japa. Vedantic contemplation is realizing that you are Brahman. How is this realizing that you are Brahman? It happens in the buddhi only. It results in what is called akandakara vritti and all that. That is an entire topic by itself. We go through that. We have discussed it a little bit before. We can discuss it further also. But just understand this much. It is not about programming yourself that you are Brahman, you are Brahman. No. It is it's a simple equation that needs to be understood. It's a fact about what you actually are, and it needs to be understood. And once it is understood, all the problem is solved. That's about it. It has to be understood in the right way, at the right level of integrity in the mind. You have to understand it at the deepest level, where you think you are an individual, where you think you have a body, where you think you are born, you live, and you die. Where you think you are reincarnating, where you think you are an individual, so and so, and all that. At that level, of depth, you have to understand you are not the individual, you are not the body, you are not so and so, you have no birth, you have no death. This individual, reincarnating individual who happens to live in this body, this is not me. Where you think this is what you are, there you have to understand this is not me, and you will understand what you actually are by contemplating on the meaning of the Vedanta according to the methodology given, which is called the process of manana. Okay, and then comes the remaining verses of Sadhana Panchakam, which talks about nididhyasanam, abiding in the truth, and living every level of functioning and in every aspect of life to live the truth, and aligning all the internal and external life according to the truth that is realized, and not have any loose ends at any angle in the mind or in life, to tie all the loose ends. That is nididhyasana. Okay, we will look about that in the coming classes. So this is about today's discussion. If there is any questions, if you can quickly ask a question, I will wait, otherwise I will conclude that. Or you can listen to this again, and you can write down your questions and post it in the next class. So since I had requested last week, they uploaded to the YouTube immediately. That was wonderful. So I will thank Ms. Swati for that. So I am hoping that this week also it will be uploaded before Wednesday, in keeping with the last week. And you will have time to listen again and ask your questions before the next class. Okay. So with that, I will conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.